Welcome to Maths for All. I'm Aisling Flynn. This is rational numbers 2.2 percentages. Percentage or percent means for every 100. For example, if 10% of people are left-handed and you take 100 people in a room, well, 10 of those are likely to be left-handed. If you take 200 people, then 20 of them are likely to be left-handed. If you take 500 people, then 50 of those are likely to be left-handed. Or if you take just 10 people, then 1 of them are likely to be left-handed, and so on. Equivalent numbers. We're going to start with some well-known percentages, and we're going to see how they can be equivalent to fractions and to decimal numbers. So 50%, if you saw that in a sale in a shop as 50% off, you'd know that you'd be paying half price. So 50% is the same as a half. If we want to write it as a bigger fraction, hundredths or more fractions, using what you know of equivalent fractions, 1 times 50 is 50, 2 times 50 is 100. So you could write 50 over 100. This would bring you easily to the decimal equivalent. 50 hundredths is written as 0.5. Okay, so there we have 50% equivalent to 1/2 and also to 0.5. 25% off would mean that you'd be taking off 1/4 of an original price. Okay, so we know that 25% and 1/4 are the same. If we were to express it as a fraction over 100, that would be 25 out of 100, which brings us to the decimal, 0.25. 40% as a fraction over 100 is 40 out of 100. As a decimal is 0.4. Okay, so here we see equivalent numbers. On the left we have percentages. In the center we have fractions, and on the right we have decimals, and they are all of the same value. And they all describe rational numbers, which mean numbers that are not whole numbers, part of something. So, finding percentages. So when you're asked one of these questions, you have a choice. You can follow a fraction route or a decimal route. What is 25% of 120? So you might choose to use fractions or decimals. They will both lead us to the correct answer, so it is your choice entirely. So 25% as a fraction is 25 over 100. 25 over 100 of means we multiply 120. So on your calculator, you'd be dividing by the 100 and multiplying by the 25, and you get 30 as the answer. If we were to use decimals, immediately I could write 25% as 0.25, multiplied by your 120, and the calculator will give you 30 also as your answer. So it's your choice, whichever you're comfortable with using, whether you use fractions or decimals. Here's another one. 12.5% of people with diabetes in the USA are Hispanic. If a sample of 1,600 diabetic patients are taken, how many are likely to be Hispanic? So fractions or decimals, your choice. 12.5% is 12.5 over 100 of, means we multiply your 1,600. So you're dividing and multiplying, and you get 200 as the answer. Decimals, write it immediately as a decimal. So you've 12% is 0.12, and the half, 0.5, follows on, goes into the thousands place. So it's 0.125 multiplied by 1,600, and you get the same answer, 200. Okay, a different question might ask you to find what percentage. And if you're asked what percentage, well, your answer should be a percent and have the percent sign beside it. Here's our example. A sample group of 400 people were asked, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? 80 people answered vanilla. So what percentage of the sample was this? So first we'll say it in words. There were 80 people out of 400 people liked vanilla. So 80 out of 400. Next we'll represent that as a fraction. So 80 out of 400 looks like that. 80 over 400. In this case, but not always, we could simplify. 80 over 400 simplifies to 1/5. Okay. It's not always possible, but not necessary. Now, so we have a fraction. What we need to do here is make that to a percentage. So we scale it up to 100 because percent means per 100. So really what you're asking is, what is 1/5 of 100? So 1/5 of 100, you multiply 1/5 by 100, and the answer is 20. And it is 20%. We were asked what percentage? 20%. Another example like that. A sample group of 400 people in Ireland were asked, what is your first language? 348 people answered English. What percentage of the sample was this? Again, use words to help you. 348 out of 400. So create a fraction. Okay, this time we're not simplifying. And then scale it up to 100 to make a percentage. So your fraction multiplied by 100, and we get 87, and that is a percentage, so include the percent sign. Okay, so to recap that, make a fraction and multiply by 100, and you get your percentage. Now, another way you can be quizzed on percentages is kind of to work backwards. Here's an example. 40% of students in a college use the canteen regularly. If there are 4,800 of these regular customers, how many students are there in the college? So it's giving you a percentage and a portion of the full college population. Okay, so in this case, I often use a table like this. Okay, so we have 40% equates to 4,800 students. Okay, so it's a little under half. It's worth estimating your answer. I'm going to guess it's a bit over 1,000. Okay, just to make sure it works out okay. Now, the next step is to, let's bring it back and find out what 1% is. So if 40%, we're going to bring it back to 1%, okay, which is much less. So we take the number of students that are 40%. If we divide by 40, it will give me 1%. And this gives me the answer of 120. Okay, so if I know what 1% of the student population is, it's very easy to scale it up to find what 100% is. And of course, 100% is the total student population. So we take 120 and multiply by 100, and we get 12,000 is the answer. Okay, 12,000 in the college. Now, so just to recap on that, divide to find 1%. So in this case, we were provided with 40%. So divide by 40, and then multiply by 100 to find 100%. Okay, so divide and then multiply. Okay, now it's time for you to give it a go. Check your understanding with the quiz and practice with the written exercises. There's your glossary.